electoral season. I mean, what would you want even to know what business I have, the trading license, if all I have is a national ID? How are we going to help our fellow citizens? All they have is the national ID. So where else can they go? And in any case, GROW, who is going to pay the GROW loan? It's the taxpayer that includes the person that all that she or he has, especially the women, is a national ID. And Madam Speaker, I want to relate that with this is examination season. And I can tell you, Madam Speaker, our fellow citizens, especially sons and daughters, are back in their homes because they can't afford paying tuition to zero balance. What kind of country are we trying to live? Or, we need to put in place a country that is big enough to accommodate everybody. Otherwise, we're going to have a country where it's only the children, sons and daughters of the rich that will go to school. In conclusion, Madam Speaker.
You're saying that students have been sent away and they're not doing exams?
They're not doing exams because they haven't paid to zero balance, Madam Speaker.
Members, no child should be sent away from school. All the children should be allowed to do exams, and they will pay their money when they are picking the transcripts. You cannot chase away the students when they are doing exams. This is wrong.
You're the best in the world, Madam Speaker, and I hope school leaders out there have listened to the Speaker. This House has the constitutional mandate that if we resolve or pronounce ourselves on something through the leadership of this House, there's nobody under the sun that has capacity to reverse that decision. And I hope, Madam Speaker, that our fellow citizens, especially school leaders, can take that, Madam Speaker. In conclusion, as I see it, to reinforce that very point, we always talk about America. America accommodates everybody. If you're poor, you take your son and daughter to a poor school. And if you can't even afford uniform, there are schools in America, they will not ask anybody about a uniform if your father or your mother cannot. In the schools in America, as I take my seat.
Honorable, we've understood, but we are saying whether private schools or government schools, all the candidates must be allowed to do exams, and whoever goes against that should face the law. You cannot afford looking at paying school fees for your kid from P1 when he reaches S4 and is not able to pay school fees. To sit exams. Some people may not have money at that time, but they will have money at a certain time and they will be able to pay.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for their judgment and final verdict.
Joyce, Judith.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on the same GROW program, GROW project is a response to so many multiple hindering factors to the women entrepreneurs. But not to repeat what my colleague had already said, Madam Speaker, the GROW project is not favoring the rural women who are sitting in the markets in the villages. Because when they go to the bank and they request for 5 million, I have my women who travel from Noya to Pakwach in a place called that big market to do trading there. And when they request for 5 million, they are sent back to again go and reduce the loan amount. And Madam Speaker, when they say they want requirements, the collaterals for the bank, I know the national ID is for identification whether you are a Ugandan or a resident of that particular place. But also when they ask for the cash flows, they want to see how you are operating. But if the GROW project, the aims were to respond or is to respond to multiple hindering factors, then we are not responding to hindering factors by asking the rural woman to go back and reduce the loan amount. Someone has requested for 1 million, you send the rural woman to go back and ask for 500,000.
Thank you. Honourable members, let's agree this way. Let's agree this way. Let's get a report on Thursday on this floor. Let's get a report on who are the beneficiaries of GROW, what is the minimum and maximum, what are the requirements, what are the regulations saying, and where have you covered so far, how much money were you given for GROW, how much have you spent, and sources of funding, and who are the focal persons on the ground that we can be able to follow with this GROW. And lastly, as leaders of the people, how do we get information on the GROW?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I'm happy to listen to the feedback from members and colleagues in Parliament about GLOW, which was launched about 2 years ago. And the Right Honourable Speaker, like you have rightly put it, it's a concern in the general public. And the Cabinet, 2 weeks ago, requested us to bring a progressive report. Today Cabinet is discussing that progressive report. But what we have raised here is going to enrich the progressive report, because some of the things that you have raised were not part of the report as far as I had read it before. So, Right Honourable Speaker, we shall abide by the decision, by your guidance on Thursday, to bring a comprehensive report about the issues raised.
Thank you. Next.
Item 3, Bills first reading, 3.1, the Assets of Departed Asians Amendment Bill 2024.
Honourable members, Lob has something.
Okay. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I was coming to consult with you first because I wanted to raise something in the presence of government.
Okay.
Government seems to be absent. However, I think I can still raise it, so it's on record. Government is here. Honourable Speaker, I am guided by the colleague here that government is here. I hope she will have answers to my issues now that you've decided to carry the cross. Right Honourable Speaker, because it's a different docket, but it's okay. Right Honourable Speaker, our duty, and even though the Constitution and the Administration of Parliament Act says the duty of the leader of the opposition is to keep the government in check, incidentally, that duty is for all of us in this house. All of us. That's why we are here. But as we do keep carrying out this oversight activity, there's many things that we discover. I, together with colleagues, were in Amuru last week, went to Atiak Sugar Factory, and I'll be sharing some of those findings in the coming days. We connected with them, raised concerns, because government has so far given about 723 billion.
Can I make a request?
Yes, yes.
Lob, can I make a request that you raise that when the Prime Minister is in and the Minister of Finance?
That's what I was saying. I will, in the coming days, when there's a lot more presence. The one I wanted to raise was specifically about today, and you will hope to guide. Honourable Speaker, I went with colleagues after I wrote on 8th October to the management of ROCO Construction Company Limited that will go and interface with them. because so far government has given them 263.3 billion shillings. And there's been numerous concerns. I'm sure some of the members here have been called by staff. They've not been paid for 4 months. There's different projects, including our chambers, that is not being attended to. But on going there to carry out our oversight function, we found a letter at the gate written back to me saying that the board has denied us as members of parliament access to the premises of Rocco Construction Company. This is a private company, yes, but it has been given taxpayers' money. In fact, on the day the first batch was passed in July of 2022, even the majority report of the committee had several concerns. I remember that report was read by the Honorable K. Fachiwanuka. And both the majority and the minority report were saying, can we first do due diligence before we give this company money? Anyhow, it passed very quickly. We don't know what's happening. Projects have stalled. Staff are complaining they're not being paid. We went to interface and interact with management as we have elsewhere, except for Loboa Hospital, which also denied us access. But the others, they do allow us access. We interact with them. And so I got confused because I know not very long the Minister of Finance will be back here in Parliament asking for more money for Rocco. But the company does not want to account. It is not paying staff. I wanted that we put government on notice, first of all, that as I know they are planning to come for more money, can they first account for what we have given to them? And if the company does not want to account for taxpayers' money, then return what has been given to you. We shall not bother you if you're using private resources, but if you're using taxpayer money, it's important that it is accounted for. I don't know what your guidance will be, Right Honourable Speaker, because the front bench, but our honourable colleague said she represents government.
Government.
Right Honourable Speaker, I thank LOP for the concern raised. Like you earlier stated, it's unusual for us to sit in the Parliament on Mondays, and today we are holding cabinet. Right Honourable Speaker, this matter will be referred to the Prime Minister, and I'm here to take notes for issues that will rise that government is going to respond to, so that I put them to the attention. Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, Mehdi.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honourable members, as I told you, while we are sitting today, we must finish the work by Friday, so that we give Iyala to sit here for 21 days.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. Right Honourable Speaker, while interacting with a few Ugandans in the diaspora,
I see people are fearing to go to the village. Yes.
Right Honourable Speaker, while interacting with a few Ugandans in the diaspora, it came to my knowledge, Right Honourable Speaker, that there are some Ugandans, just like other Africans, that are stuck in the Middle East, mainly in Lebanon, at the moment, where they are engulfed in the war between Israel and Lebanon. As you are aware, and as everyone has been witnessing, many Ugandans who conduct duties as house assistants in the Middle East are sponsored by individuals that own homes in those areas, which partly some of those homes are under severe bombardment at the moment. So just like other African migrant laborers, Ugandans need immediately what we would call foreign service assistance to either be repatriated back home or to find a safe haven at the moment. Secondly, others that offer these services have reported that in various countries where they work, most that fall sick are not given medical attention because they neither have insurances, or some of their employers are disinterested in taking them to various hospitals rather than being given painkillers and paracetamol. At the end of the day, most of them come back in dire shape, and some of them end up probably dying from those areas. Right, Honorable Speaker? They want to hear the voice of the ministry in charge of gender and labor. And the reason is that when they refer to the companies that took them there is no answers rather than pure coercion to tell them that, listen, our role was to get you there. We have no responsibility beyond that. It's appalling. These are our young children. They are part of Uganda, and we owe them a duty of care. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Maybe before the Minister comes, I want to thank Honourable Sereko for raising the matter. But on this note, I think you could have read that in the last 1 or 2 weeks ago, I think our ambassador to Malaysia, Honourable Betty Bigombe, is doing wonders because she was able to rescue people who were deceived from Uganda and taken to Myanmar under the rebels. So if all other ambassadors, those responsible missions, can work with that type of heart, I think a lot could be achieved. And she was still mentioned in that interview with the Monitor that there are still some people who are still in the captivity under the rebels in Myanmar. So maybe the minister could also add on her clarification on this matter. How many do we still have in captivity of the rebels? Because they were lured to Malaysia, to Thailand, that they're going to do work, but in the end they ended up in the rebel activities.
Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Madam Speaker, on issues of externalization of labor, we have done a lot of reforms of late. And we have some Amazon offices where people can report to, especially those in destitute. Right Honourable Speaker, but a number of people had gone to these countries before these reforms came. And there are also many companies that have been faulting the regulations. A number of them have been disqualified and we have had to cancel some of those companies' licenses. Right Honourable Speaker, for an elaborate report, a comprehensive report, the Minister of State responsible for labor will soon come and present the new regulations and reforms and guidelines so that we can be able to direct or guide our people better. Right Honourable Speaker, on the issue Honourable Sereko raised, I think that is the issue Honourable Sereko raised. On the issue that my brother raised, I think the Prime Minister will talk about the issue concerning the young people who are in the rebel activities and all that. That goes beyond my ministry and docket. And I think the Right Honourable Prime Minister will address that matter when she comes. She's more updated on the developments in Malaysia.
Thank you. Remember, she told you she's taking notes for onward transmission. Let's go to the next item first.
Item 3, Bills first reading, 3.1, the Assets of Departed Asians Amendment Bill 2024.
Honourable members, you recall that on 24th September 2024, the executive tabled a RAPEX bill for the first reading. The House, however, stood over the tabling of the bill due to concerns that were raised by Honourable Byakatonda Nuru Abdul, the Workers' MP, and that was about the issue of the case that was in court that would amount to sub judice. However, the Attorney General wrote to us saying that will not stop the bill from going for the first reading. It could allow the bill to go for the first reading. And we were in possession of that letter. Honourable members, in the bill that is being tabled, we expected a full inventory of all the assets and liabilities as a schedule, so that we know what we are transferring and how we are transferring. This should have been included herein. It is very fortunate that me and Elop, we have ever been leaders of COSASE. We know what is in Asian Custodian Departed Board. Lop will tell you of head, and I will also tell you what is in that place. So I think it would be prudent enough for the minister to relay this information to the Minister of Finance, that as they bring this bill for the first reading, would they give us a list of assets, of inventory that is supposed to be taken over. Yes. And on the same note, when the minister was asked, the minister said he needed 1 year to get the list of those assets. But since it is RAPEX cannot wait, we need a list of the of inventory. Yes.
Madam Speaker, thank you for your insight in this matter. You are aware the issue in question is not just the inventory of the assets. There is also what somebody is already alluding to, the audit, a comprehensive audit. Why?
A forensic
We have
audit.
information that Idi Amin compensated a number of these properties.
President
And
Idi
these
Amin.
properties, yes,
President
His
Idi
Excellency Idi Amin, the late Idi Amin, compensated a number of the departed Asian properties, and those properties he compensated are getting to be repossessed. Then we are asking, under what circumstance is that happening? There were properties that were mortgaged in banks, and Uganda government redeemed those properties from the bank, and those properties are again being repossessed. In a submission of the Attorney General then, Honorable Bahati Katureba, he guided that the Ministry of Finance, which is responsible, is now seeking mandate, should go into prosecuting people. That has not happened, and they have not reclaimed those properties. Madam Speaker, we have the property register provided in the law. The county would want to know what is in the register. That is section 2. In the same law, we also have the Assets of Departed Asians Act. In section 13, Madam Speaker, there was also establishment of a special fund. We don't know what is in that fund. These people have been selling properties. Where are the resources? They have been renting. Where is the rent to income? Where are the accounts of this body? Why do they want to dissolve this body without accounting for the properties? This body is supposed to invest.
Richard, there's a procedure from Richard.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm raising on a matter of procedure, because on the order paper we are receiving the bill is being read for the first time. It's not yet even read. I see my colleague, the Honorable Lee, debating and giving a lot of information in regard to the bill that is not yet presented and read for the first time. I need your indulgence and guidance whether we are proceeding well for a colleague to debate a bill that is non-existent at the time, at the present.
Actually, Honorable Lee should take the information to the Minister of Finance and help them. That information that you're giving should help them. But I have already made a ruling that we cannot have this read for the first time because of that, because of what I've already mentioned. Next item.
Item 3.2.
Yes. Solo?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise on a point of procedure. There is a public outcry about the recently concluded census.
How is it coming in?
Let me go ahead, Madam
Fa-
Speaker.
Is it a procedure on what is happening? That is something you should have come earlier to bring it up. Before. The procedure that you should raise should be a procedure on what is happening, what we are discussing now.
I agree, Madam
Next
Speaker.
item.
Item 3.2.
Yes, procedure.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the procedure issue I'm raising is from your statement where you have guided that some missing gaps from the bill would hamper it from being presented. But also you mentioned something very cardinal about the Attorney General's letter. Because the Attorney General, I don't know whether he's the one supposed to waive a bill to
determine sub judice.
To determine sub judice. Because we are House of Record, and Madam Speaker, we have other bills that have been stopped because of sub judice rule. Would it be really, I need your guidance. How should we refer to the Attorney General or for, because Madam Speaker, the rules give you the whole mandate to determine the sub judice, whether something is sub judice or not. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You know, in this country and in all the books of law, the law only allows the speaker to determine what is sub judice. That's why I never allowed it to stop. It is only the speaker who determines what is sub judice. Next item. Yes. Yes, Morris.
Thank you.
Morris, before you finish, in the public gallery this afternoon we have pupils and teachers from Green Valley Nursery and Primary School from Katikamu North, Luero District. You're most welcome. Assalamu alaikum. You're most welcome. They are represented by Honorable Dennis Sekabira. Where is Dennis? Dennis is just out there having lunch. And then Honorable Brenda. Honorable Brenda is in a meeting assigned by Lob. Thank you so much for coming. And they are good leaders. Bring them back.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, you are doing a lot of work for these ministers. Right Honorable Speaker, these bills were there before. We had to ask them to do thorough work before bringing them back. Right Honorable Speaker, a minister brings a bill which is not even a quarter with the material we expect, and they put you to task to begin training them and putting them in the right place. Here, when some members of parliament are doing something which is not right, they say the training was not right. Maybe, Right Honorable Speaker, you ask through the president to have some of these ministers trained on what they are supposed to do better, so that at a given time, we don't waste a lot of time. You bring a bill which doesn't reflect what we expect out of you. Tomorrow another minister is bringing, another one is bringing the same story year in, year out. It's becoming too much, Right Honorable Speaker, as you guide them and tell them the right thing. Maybe through your office, Right Honorable Speaker, do some induction for these ministers so that by the time they bring back some other material, we see some work that reflect them as ministers. Thank you.
Thank you. Morris, to the best of my knowledge, we have very competent ministers. It's just that they are not here, but we all learn on job. We all learn on job. Next item.
Item 3.2, Bills First Reading, the Sexual Offences Bill 2024.
Honorable members, the right of a member to initiate a private member's bill is enshrined in Article 94(4)(b) of the Constitution of Republic of Uganda, 1995, and is operationalized by Rule 121 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. For this particular bill, a certificate of financial implication was issued by the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. This certificate indicated that some of the proposed measures therein are already implemented by relevant government agencies, that proceeding with the bill will lead to wastage of public resources. In addition, the certificate indicated that the proposal in the bill have a financial implication, which will be accommodated within the medium-term expenditure framework of the implementing agencies such as Uganda Police Forces, Uganda Prison Services, the Office of Directorate of Public Prosecution, and the Courts of Law. In light of the consideration, the Attorney General did not indicate the particular laws that he was saying were being duplicated. They did not tell us how much amount was involved in terms of financial implication, and I would request that the House allows this member to introduce the bill for first reading, and then it will be interrogated in the committee so that we know which bills are being duplicated. I now call Honorable Anne Ebajo.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for your wise guidance. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, on the 23rd of May, 2023, this Parliament granted me leave to introduce a private member's bill entitled the Sexual Offences Bill. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, this bill's main object is to consolidate all sexual offences into one piece of legislation. And Right Honorable Speaker, on this subject matter, I have carried out numerous consultations and thereby today beg to lay the Sexual Offences Bill accompanied by a certificate of financial implications as is required under Section 76 of the Public Finance Management Act. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay a bill for an act entitled the Sexual Offences Act 2024, accompanied by a certificate of financial implication. I beg to lay.
Thank you. In furtherance to Rule 1291 of the Rules of Procedure, the bill stands. It is signed. I have the signed bill. The bill stands referred to the Committee of Legal and Parliamentary Affairs and the Committee of Gender, Labor and Social Development. But the legal will take a lead and report back to the House within the 45 days.
Most obliged.
Thank you.
Item 4. Item 5, laying of papers. The Inspectorate of Government biennial performance reports for the period July to December 2023 and January to June 2024.
Members, Article 231(1) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda requires the IGG to submit to Parliament at least once in 6 months a report of performance of its function, making such recommendations and it's considered necessary containing such information in Parliament may require. In furtherance to this constitutional provision, I received 2 biannual reports from IGG on 3rd October 2024, and today the reports will formally be laid on table. I now invite the Parliamentary Commissioner to table the report on the floor. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank IGG for complying with the law. Madam Speaker, last week I raised an issue in relation to compliance of MDAs and also Parliament of Uganda in bringing to this House annual reports. Section 50 of the Administration of Parliament Act requires that the Parliamentary Commission shall bring to this House an annual report detailing activities of the House. So is also other MDAs. Now that IGG is complying and the Commission is in the process of laying this, when do we expect the annual report of the Parliamentary Commission on activities of Parliament, so that you are also in compliance with the law?
The Parliamentary Commission has always complied and laid the reports on table. Please, Commissioner Lay.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the Inspectorate of Government biannual performance report to Parliament for a period July to December 2023. I beg to lay.
Please lay. Honourable members, the report is referred to the Sectoral Committee of Legal and Parliamentary Affairs for further scrutiny and consideration.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the Inspectorate of Government biannual performance report to Parliament for the period January to June 2024. I beg to lay.
Refer to the Committee of Legal and Parliamentary.
Item 6, motion for adoption of the report of the Public Accounts Committee, Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises on the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Uganda Posta Limited for the financial year ended 30th June 2023.
Honourable members, the report of Posta Uganda Limited is going to be presented by the Chair of COSASE. I now want to invite the Vice Chair, Park COSASE, to present the report. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, if we see the way things are moving, there are days when you'll call a house on Monday. But through your office, we wish to know, because originally we had information that all state ministers don't attend cabinet. There are ministries that have three ministers, others more than 3. We need maybe to know through your office whether if the sitting is for Monday, we take it that all ministers, including state ministers that don't attend the cabinet daily, will also be absent. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable, please.
Right Honourable Speaker, I'm here to inform the House that the Ministers of State do attend Cabinet. Today I did not attend Cabinet because there was a Kiswahili Council on the order paper, and my colleagues did attend, so I am well represented, but I had to be here. Thank you.
I thought what Honorable Morris was asking, that how come that all ministers, including the state ministers, are absent, and yet some of them would be here.
Right Honorable Speaker, I rose to address that matter, that all ministers and ministers of state do attend cabinet. That's why they are not here. All of them are in cabinet today. I excused myself because I knew there was a unusual parliament on Monday, and there was something on the order paper, because it's not quite usual. Usually we sit on Tuesday to Thursday in parliament. But today, since there was a reflection of a bill that we funded or that we are supporting, I came to ensure that we don't miss out.
Let's after we shall need a treasury memoranda. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. Madam Speaker, under Rule 219, I beg to lay the minutes attached to the report. I beg to lay.
Please lay.
Madam Speaker, I also beg to lay the copy of the report. Report of the Public Accounts Committee on commissions, statutory authorities, and state enterprises, on the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Uganda Post Limited for the financial year ended 30th June 2023. I beg to lay.
Please lay.
Madam Speaker, let me go direct to the gist of the report. Page 2, 2.3, review of financial statements of Uganda Post Limited, OUPL, or Posta Uganda. You can call it Posta Uganda. Honorable members, when you go to page 6, because of limited time, observations and recommendations. The committee made the following observations and recommendations. Under sales revenue performance, it was observed that sales revenue reduced by 6.29% due to a decline in receipts from burger rentals, that is 64%, M-bags 53%, post-shop sales 68%, and the commissions by 102%. This arose from competition from unlicensed carrier operators. According to a market performance report of Uganda Communication Commission for the quarter ended March 2023, 60% of the carrier business is conducted by unlicensed companies. Unlicensed postal and carrier operators cause government to lose tax revenue but also compete with licensed companies. Recommendation. The committee recommends that UPL diversifies its revenue streams, while at the same time UCC improves its regulations of the industry to curb unlicensed operators in the market. On operating expenses in financial year 2022-2023 declined by UGX 0.492 billion due to lower spending marketing by 50%. This in effect could have also impacted on lower sales revenues. Recommendations. The committee recommends that UPL continues to invest in marketing of its services to improve revenue streams. The structure of the company's employee cost largely towards human resource rewards should be monitored and kept within the 65% thresholds of recurrent spending. The company's interest costs arising from the overdraft facility to boost its liquidity position should be suspended until the company institutes mechanism of correcting outstanding receivables. On debt write-offs, write-offs have grown by 149%. Caution needs to be exercised with the continued rise in debt write-offs. Recommendation. The committee recommends that UPL should establish a correction mechanism for all outstanding receivables prior to the start of the debt write-off process. Default on statutory payments. Analysis of payables and other accruals largely consist of UCC liability, payroll liability, payable and VAT, which are statutory in nature. This means the company is defaulting on statutory payments. Recommendation. The committee recommends that UPL prioritizes payment of all its statutory obligations within the medium term and incurrence of new statutory liabilities be avoided. On company liquidity position, the company is facing liquidity challenges as the current ratio is less than 1. Recommendation. The committee recommends capitalization of the company by its shareholders subject to the improvement in the management of existing resources over the medium term. 3.0 Observations and recommendation, the Auditor General's queries. 3.1.1 Implementation of the approved budget. Page 9, Committee Observation. The committee observed that there was under collection of revenue by the company by UGX 4.031 billion. 2. While management cited effects of COVID-19 for the poor performance of NCHAL, the committee observed that in the financial year 2021-2022, NCHAL generated was much higher than the year under review by UGX 0.66 billion. Both periods after the pandemic. Therefore, the excuse of COVID-19 could not exhaustively explain the decline in revenue collection. All collected revenue is spent at source. Recommendation. The management of Posta Uganda should improve the company's revenue mobilization efforts to ensure sufficient revenue at the entity's disposal to implement its plans. 2. The revenue collected by the entity should not be entirely spent at the source, but consider making a profit and declaring dividends to the shareholders. 3.1.3 Utilization of collected revenue. Page 11, recommendations. Committee observations. The committee observed that unutilized revenue of UGX 0.397 billion reported as profit of the company for the period under review is in fact unspent revenue despite the entity under collecting revenue. Recommendation. The accounting officer should ensure that revenue is spent as per the approved budget. 3.1.4 Unsupported output budgets. Page 12, Committee Observation. The committee observed that non-provision of the detailed costing for activities implies that the costing at output level cannot be justified, and as such, there is a risk that the company either over or under budgeted for these outputs. Recommendation 1. Going forward, the accounting officer should ensure that budget figures are appended to each activity to ensure rational operations and proper accountability. 2. The Minister of Finance should capitalize the entity. 3.1.5 Implementation of outputs. Committee observation 1. The committee observed that failure to monitor and report on performance of planned activities makes it difficult to verify whether the activities were fully implemented. 2. Noted that the difference between the unimplemented activities and the utilized funds were significant. 3. Also observed that failure to indicate detailed plan activities creates haphazard implementation of the entity's work plans and compromise the quality of its output. Recommendations. The committee recommends that management should ensure that staff capacity is built on enable development of proper work plans and performance reports which can be utilized to measure performance. 3.2 Management of the government salary payroll. 3.2.1 Validation of employees on the entity main payroll. Committee observation, that is page 15. The committee observed that dealing with staff with lack of requisite information, such as national ID, appointment letters, jeopardize their eligibility and authenticity during and after their service time. Recommendation. Management should periodically update employee lists, reconcile the payroll, and liaise with other relevant stakeholders to ensure timely payroll access of new employees and deletion of those who have exited. 3.2.2 Inconsistencies in employee details. Committee observation. The committee observed that inconsistent information undermines the integrity of the company's records and may complicate the employee service history and retirement procedures. Recommendation 1. The accounting officer should engage the affected staff and ensure that employee records are duly updated and brought to the attention of the appropriate authorities within a specified timeline for action. The accounting officer should ensure that the staff whose particulars had inconsistencies and were advised to make statutory declaration audit poll should submit the same for verification during the following audit period. 3.2.3 Utilization of the wage budget. Committee observation. The committee observed that failure to utilize the budgeted wage funds implies unrealistic budgeting in respect of the wage bill and locks resources which could have been used to deliver other public services. Besides, this could also expose the unutilized funds to the risk of misuse. The committee was equally concerned about the unutilized wage budget of UGX 1.63 billion in the financial under review, with the payroll liability and pay payables as mentioned in their financial statements. Review of the entity staff establishment. The Auditor General undertook procedures to review the completeness and relevance of the entity's establishment, and noted that out of 249 approved positions, a total of 170 positions were filled, leaving a gap of 77 vacant positions. Committee observation. The committee observed that vacant positions negatively affect the company's capacity to deliver on its mandate. Recommendation. The committee recommends that accounting officers should quicken the process of filling vacant positions current in the entity's staff establishment. 3.3 Asset revaluation. Members, you can see copy of the report attached, Annexure 1, for more details. Page 20, we committee observation. The committee observed that 1, not all the property of Posta had been included in the asset valuation report, which put to risk those assets that were not declared in the valuation report. It was noted that the assets that were not valued were disclosed on page 24 of the financial statements. For most of the property valued, the value of land was higher than the value of the buildings. This implies that the buildings were in a dilapidated state. Recommendation. The accounting officer should address the ownership issues and ensure that all the company assets are properly valued and reported at fair values as per the provision of international accounting standards. 2, the dilapidated property of UPL should be urgently renovated and redeveloped in order to achieve value for money. 3.4 Unresolved property disputes and non-approval of write-off of receivables. Members, you can check on Annexure 2A and 2B for more details. On page 22, committee observation. The committee observed that 1, the unresolved property disputes were beyond the management level of UPL, leading to forfeiture of receivables for 9 years. 2, unclear ownership of the property is the main reason behind failure by tenants to pay outstanding receivables to Posta Uganda. 3, the committee notes that the entity's land is at risk, requiring urgent intervention. 4, there were areas that needed thorough and special investigation, but the committee did not do so owing to resource and time constraints. Recommendation. The committee recommends that 1, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development and Minister of Information Communication Technology resolve the impasse between the companies and ensure that UPL is paid all outstanding receivables within 6 months from adoption of this report. 2, the committee be given more time to deeply investigate the matter relating to ownership, status, and management of the entity's property. 3.5, trade and other receivables. Committee observation. The increasing trade receivables of
level. I am privileged that this happened in Arusha. I attended them and I sponsor myself to attend these summits. But we are gradually